motorcycle southbound. One car went to pass, so the motorcycle picked the middle of him. He caught his leg on the side of the car, and it basically almost ripped it off. And his leg is just squirting blood, just every heartbeat. So I grab it. My wife holds C-spine. I grab it, put some direct pressure, hit a pressure point, and it stops bleeding.
You are listening to and watching Responder Chronicles. Today I have Brad Baker. He's the fire chief from Allentown, Station 11 in Santa Rosa County, Florida. And he's also county manager, which takes a lot, I'm sure. And I'm really appreciative of you taking the time to be on the podcast.
Sure, no problem.
This podcast interviews fire personnel, police, just about anybody who has first responder experience, and just to share those stories so that maybe we can get other people interested in volunteering, joining up, or just the public in general, just so they can see what it's like. So Brad, how long have you been in the fire service?
Wow, a long time. So it was the year after I graduated high school, so that would be 1987.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
been
so
a bit.
Been a while. So what? 39 years, fixing to be 40.
Yeah. Has it always been volunteer?
It has. I did a stint full time as a paramedic on the road, but just always been in the volunteer side of the fire department. So.
Okay. And how long, has all of it been here at Allentown, or has it been?
No, I was at Skyline for a while. When me and my wife got married, we moved down to the Skyline District for a while, and I was a member with them and had a lot of good times, learned a lot of stuff there with Skyline, another good department in our county.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, they trained me up to get my Fire One, and I have huge respect for them.
Yeah, good department. They get a lot of turnover because of the military through there, so there's always, challenging times. Well, it's that way with any fire department. So, but yeah, so I came back here 20 years ago. So this year, 2026, I'll be the chief up here for 20 years in Allentown.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
So Allentown, I hear you guys are you transitioning to having somebody here more often? Every volunteer department is a little different.
We are. We've kind of we have one administrative person here really to just help with making sure everything's ordered, all the trucks are checked, etc. And that gentleman is going to get his Fire II, and we're looking to have 2 daytime people here Monday through Friday. Most of our volunteers work, and if you know anything about the Allentown Fire District, there's not a lot of businesses in Allentown, so not a lot of opportunities for people to earn money in the Allentown Fire District, so they're going out to work, and we struggle sometimes to roll out our trucks, so the board agree with my plan, and we move forward with that. So I would say in the next few months we'll have, as they finish their Fire II, we'll have a couple people here Monday through Friday to roll the trucks out. Typically at night we'll have 8, 10, 12 people show up on a call, but during the day when people, you have to make a living, and a lot of people are 2-income families now. So, but yeah.
Yeah, I understand about how you can have quite a bit of help in the evening, but in the daytime, crickets.
Yeah.
Because, my district, I want to say it's more rural than this. I think it is.
It definitely is.
And so we have to go, except for some of them that are in forestry. And the good thing about that is if something happens pretty major, forestry jumps right in.
Yeah, they do.
And so it's a blessing to have them. And then, the rest of us are there at night. I do most of my volunteer in the middle of the night because that's normally when I'm, available.
Yeah, we're also blessed in our district because we have Skyline is just literally 8 minutes outside our district line. and they have a career department or combination, but they have a good staffing there. And then Pace just staffed their North Station, and they are literally about 4 minutes from our district line. So we have the ability to get some mutual aid help.
Mm-hmm. So, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the mutual aid. Yeah. It's always good
and
to
then
see.
In return, we do respond.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, because we're kind of the central north department, we're the closest department to the central area. We get to respond to calls with Pace, we get to respond to calls with Skyline, and then we go to Munson, we do go to Berrydale, we do go to Jay. So we have 5 departments that we support for structure fires or brush fires or some of the major stuff.
So you have been roughly 39 years in the fire service. What got you in? How did that happen?
So that was an interesting time. Me and my buddy were going hunting about 3 o'clock one morning. We were headed over to Blackwater Forest. And at that time, my neighbor was a fire chief.
Okay.
And what young 19-year-old who's standing outside at that time they run the bubble lights on top, a red light takes off, is not going to go follow them, right? So we followed him up here, and there were 2 gentlemen who were fighting the fire. So I walked up to them. Obviously, I knew my neighbor. I said, "Hey, Lynn, can I do something to help with the fire?" And they're like, "Yeah, grab this hose." And, the hot stuff boiling off on me. I had to step back. So me and my buddy come up the next day and joined the fire department. And so that's how I got started by running a fire. And I've actually went back to that same house probably 20 years later for another fire.
Oh boy.
That was a total loss, and they had probably going to rebuild, but yeah, so been to that house fire twice. I've actually done, it means I have such a long career up here. I've went to a couple of house fires multiple times over 20 or 30 years. Different owners,
Yeah, but same place.
Same place.
Like, yeah, I remember you turn this way
Yeah,
once you're in there.
That's right.
It's kind of good to know how the layout of a place is,
Yeah.
I don't know if it comes back like that while you're on.
The one did because it was a pretty good knockdown, and so it was the same type of house. The other one burnt the first time, so they rebuilt it, and we went to a fire at the same address. It was just a new house, and it was an oven fire, so luckily we got in there and knocked it out pretty fast.
So I suppose it was on-the-job training thereafter when you first started?
I did. So when I first started, there wasn't a lot of standards in the fire service. I want to say it was a 30-hour class we took. And now it's, by the time you get everything done, it's almost 300 hours. So
it's quite a few hours.
Did a lot of hands-on, which kind of is what got me into the EMS side of things. When I come up here and started running calls, I noticed, man, we run a lot of medical calls, we run wrecks. I need to figure out what's going on. So I went and got my EMT, and then I did that in '89, and then I started doing a little bit on the ambulance, started at dispatch with the county. So I have right at 30 years with the county as well. Started in dispatch, then I went to, at that time, it was the hospital-based EMS with Santa Rosa Hospital, and I got my paramedic, and I worked on the road for several years as a paramedic. Had some really cool experiences. Got to meet pretty much every fire department in our county. Then I went back to dispatch as a supervisor down there, and then emergency management, and then to the county administration. So yeah.
I've had a dispatcher on here, well, no longer there, but it was a dispatcher. He had some stories. You have EMS stories as well. Can you share any of that?
Man, I have run some really bad calls. I've run some really neat calls. My first day as a paramedic, luckily I was with another seasoned paramedic who had done a lot of mentorship with me, and we were in a call on 910 there at the Avalon exit. It was a motorhome driven by 2 ladies, and don't know what happened, fell asleep or something, but they went off and hit a tree, and one of them got thrown out and was dead underneath the vehicle, but another lady was pinned, but it was on the top where the top of the cab and the
No.
windshield meet, and her leg was in there and it's almost amputated off. But
Oh my.
she was actually talking to us, had a massive skull fracture, and when we got her out and laid her down, she just went unconscious. And so we intubated her anyway, get her to West Florida Hospital. But she had a torn aorta, and with her being upside down, there was pressure on it. And as soon as we were able to cut her leg and extricate her, and we laid her like that, obviously it opened up. And you know, when they aorta tears, there's nothing. So first call was a paramedic.
Wow.
Second call was a VA transfer to Biloxi.
A little bit easier.
Yeah, I got to do all my paperwork on the
I
way
bet
to
you that
Biloxi.
first night, you were just like, do
Yeah.
I really want to do this?
Yeah, but I have, from motocross accidents, I got to needle, chest needle a couple folks. Up in the Munson district, we had a head-on years ago, and I actually cracked one guy, tubed another guy. It was just a bad scene, and there was no help for 30 minutes. A helicopter got there, and somebody from Okaloosa, and we had 5 patients. So I've got to do some pretty neat, interventions over the time. I had one guy go into cardiac arrest, a transfer patient, defibrillated him. He woke back up and talked to me. Had another one, we ran a scene call. It was in Avalon, and they did CPR, and we did a defibrillation on him when I got there. Got him in the ambulance. He started breathing on his own. He actually woke up right before we got to the hospital. So pretty cool.
That's great.
Pretty cool stuff.
So there are some wins.
There are some wins. That's why I tell people when I train them at CPR, you're not going to save everybody, but you never know when they got the chance. You know what I mean?
There was the Southern Baptist Association. I was there. I'm a pastor as well. And I was there, and you had the class, and you were encouraging us to do CPR. And I remember you said, most of the people you do CPR are not going to make it. You said it's the best tool we have, and if you know how to do it, you can give them a fighting chance.
That's right.
And I remember that. I took my CPR, and then shortly after that, I got wrangled into the fire department and haven't looked back since.
That's right. Yeah, so man, I've had so many neat times. I mean, I've taken a couple of calls. I took at dispatch while I was there. I remember taking one, and I recognized the address because it was across the street from my house. And the lady said, "It's okay. There's a paramedic lives right across from me." And I said, "Hon, that's me, but we're sending you some help." And the other one, my aunt had a stroke, and my cousin called me, and as soon as she heard my voice, she was just,
Does it seem, your experience, since, we're a growing county, but we're not like Orange County or anything like
Right.
that. But does it seem to you that when you show up on scene and they recognize you, they know you, does it seem like it generally puts them at ease?
Sure, I think so. Because they understand that we're a community fire department, and that's one thing I emphasize with my folks here is we're here to help the citizens, right? So if you're going to join the Allentown Fire Department, you're in it to help your community. So we need to care about it. We need to respond just like they're our family. And that's when I used to train the EMS folks. I used to tell them, if you'll treat this patient like they're your grandmother or your grandfather, it'll all work out.
Yeah.
Because you're going to give them the best care, and that's what it's really about. And we have some great departments in our county. We have, it's primarily career as you go further south from here. I mean, you do have, Baghdad, and then East Milton's a combination, but the rest, Pace, and you get on down to Midway and Navarre Beach and Navarre and all them, their career. But we have some really good folks that really do help every day the citizens of Santa Rosa County, and it's a challenge, and especially when I am the volunteer guy, so the volunteer fireman, and it's a challenge to balance fire response because I've missed several birthday parties and things like that because a call went off. Now we're up in Allentown, we run probably 25 to 30 calls a month, but when I was in Skyline, we were running 60 calls, 75 calls. I mean, it was nothing to have 4 or 5 in a day. So that is what I like about Allentown, but we are growing as well in our community. We've had, several hundred houses built up here.
Yes.
If you drove around, you've seen that. So, yeah, it's been a neat experience. I've enjoyed the majority of it. Hey, sounds like
Need to go?
need to go.
You want me to
Guess we
go?
can pause. Sure. You can.
Yep, let's go. Okay, so that was funny because we were just talking about call volume and got a call out, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, so Allentown is getting more populated, so of course that increases the need for service. What are some of the biggest changes that you've seen over your last 39 years with the service?
I would say that, we were able to come together, especially the north end central departments many years back, and kind of form a group that pursued the county commission to show them the condition of the equipment and the need for, because when I first got in, we were really a fish fry fundraising kind of fire department, right?
Yes.
We may took in 40,000 a year, and that's if people donated generously, and we had 3 or 4 fish fries. So we were able to move to what we call an MSBU funded fire district, and being a part of that and seeing the changes, we went from having apparatus that was 40 years old and was questionable getting to a fire to we have newer trucks now, like that squad you got to run that call on. We've had that thing for about 4 years now. We were able to buy one for our Chumuckla station a couple of years ago. So just the newer equipment, everybody's in gear. And I first came up here, they were wearing hip boots and worn out jackets, and it was equipment that we had donated from other departments. So now we're in the place to where when the Florida has all kind of requirements now, so when the gear expires after 5 years, we're able to donate it to departments in Alabama that really don't have zero funding. They're in where we were, they're doing their fish fries. So while it may not meet Florida standards, it's better than what some of those guys are running around in Alabama in. So I guess that's the neatest thing, is to watch how we evolved and provide a really good service to our citizens. I know they don't all agree with that. With me being in my county administrator role, I get to hear the negative side about how things are all the time, but I really do think the fire service has evolved and will continue to have to evolve as we get more and more population and less opportunities or more opportunities that people need to do dual income families. You'll have less time in your community. So we'll have to go to more of a paid or a combination type department. It'll be longer before Munson or Jay, we'll have to, but as population keeps moving north. So I just think it's never ending. I told our guys around here, I'm trying to transition that I've done almost 40 years, that I don't want to be that chief that hangs around, till I'm 80, because, I feel like everybody needs to call me chief. I just want to do what's right for our community, and as long as I'm here and able to make a difference, I want to be, but I don't want to hinder, the growth of the department, because, I'm used to a certain way. So.
I get it. I haven't been in that long, but I can't even imagine with a limited time that I have now. And you already know, I already told you all the things I do, and this, and other things. I can't imagine taking any more time on top of training to do a fundraiser. And I know as we get stuff donated to us, even in our district, and we're able to, through half-cent sales tax, which I'm not trying to get political or anything, that's been a blessing, It
has been a blessing.
And then, the MSBU and all of that stuff, we're able to get some updated equipment, plus the standards it's harder and harder to be a volunteer fire department with meeting all the standards for the, and they've got those standards for a good reason.
Right.
But, there's departments in Alabama, so close to us. Like you said, they don't have nowhere near the funding, and they are just ecstatic. We give them some of our old equipment that's still in great, useful service, but it's old, and we have more of a population, and we need better equipment to meet that need.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, Florida, I agree with you. The training's good, to have the standards good, because we didn't have that when I first got in. So I agree with you on that. The standard is good, but literally where you're at, you could drive 5 miles and fight a fire with somebody who doesn't have that standard. Now,
Yes.
Granted, you're taught to be more safe. You're taught of your surroundings. You understand from going through Fire 1, you understand, fire construction or building construction and fire behavior and all that. So it's all good things for the fire service, but it's a challenge when you're dealing with an all-volunteer to ask somebody to get, really almost 300 hours by the time you go through everything, and they're working and they've got a family, so it's a challenge, but we always seem to manage to do it, and we keep responders here.
And it just seems like, I may be stepping out of bounds here, but it seems like those who hang in through all of that, and they really, how should I say it? I believe they belong there. They really got the heart to really want to stick in through it all. Have a family back there supporting you also helps,
It does help. My wife has been very supportive. When she's able to, she keeps her first responder. She never cared to go to Fire 1, but she'll run medical calls with me. If I need her to, she can pump the truck with a quick refresher. So it's been, we've been very blessed with our family, and it's really about being ingrained in our community. I love Allentown. Glad I got to move back up here. My grandfather afforded me the ability to do that. And to be on his farm and, raise cows and be involved in my community is a cool thing. Luckily, my church is here in this community, so I'm engaged in it. And it really is about community. And I think if we could keep that the focus, especially in the small ones, I get when you get more populated, like say in East Milton, it's really growing.
Oh, man.
It's hard to stay connected with your community because the community is so large. But out here in Munson, NJ, I think Berrydale, for example, I think we can stay connected with our community and understand that we're there to serve our community. Now we do run a lot of calls that you question, like, why are we running that? But it's really just to try to help, help the community and put their mind at ease that somebody's there to come help them. So.
Not like the call we just ran. It's most of the calls are not major incidents. If you're there for anything, you're there to just morally support that person till a higher level of care gets there and they take over. That being said, do you have a story? I know you do. Maybe the first call you got us in fire that made you go, I want to do this again.
Well, I would say probably that first one I told you about, where I ran the call and helped out before I joined, and I joined the next day. That helped me understand that we had a community that had a need. And then, I could think of so many calls.
Just pull one.
Like for example, we run over one here by the firehouse, and it was a family friend that I knew, and we were able to go in there, and you pull up, you would not think you could have saved anything, but we kept it to a room and contents fire. I've run a fire in our community that we had a fatality on. That night at church, literally 3 hours before, I was singing in the choir with a man who died.
Oh.
But for the family to know that I went in that fully engulfed house to try to rescue them, and we did get him and her out, and unfortunately they died. But the closeness in the community after that is just amazing. So, but being able to pull, whether that's a cat or a dog out and save them for the little kid, or get there in time to save something in the house, obviously over my years, I'm definitely an interior firefighter. I want to go in there and get it and put it out and save what we can. So I think that's the cool part, has always challenged me. The fire guys up here, the kid, and we had a new guy who come from a different department, and when he came in, I met with him, and he said, yeah, everybody tells me you got to fight you for the nozzle. I said, well, I do live right by the station. The other guy lives, he don't really fight fires, but he's qualified as a truck operator. So he drives, I suit up. Well, I'm not going to get to the fire just because I'm the chief and stand around.
Yeah.
If I'm the first one there and I'm geared up, I'm grabbing the nozzle, I'm going to put the fire out, because that's what I do. If you don't, I ain't going to be a fireman, so.
We had a fire here recently. It was a shed, thank God, it wasn't a house. I come pulling up, everybody's coming. We got Barradell, I think even y'all started coming, I'm not sure. By the time I got there, I was the first fire truck on scene, but there was only one person on that fire truck, and guess who it was? And as soon as I pull up, another guy comes in behind me from somewhere else. Guess who got the nozzle? Because somebody had to pump the truck.
That's right.
And I was like, oh, but it's fine. I stayed on the truck and pumped it, and as more came, I learned how to pump the truck even more that night.
That's right.
I think if somebody, once I got that nozzle, you might have to fight me for it too.
Well, I tell people I got in the fire service about fire, so don't fault me for wanting the nozzle.
No, don't fault me. I think every firefighter. I know one time I was gassed. I got in there, had the nozzle, and somebody came in behind me and said, "We're here to support you." I said, "Take the nozzle. I'm out," because I had to get out of there. I had reached my limit.
Yeah, now, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm 57 this year. It's a lot harder. I tell the guys, luckily we don't have many structure fires. I tell them we have a good fire prevention program, but we run probably 2 structure fires a year in our district. So the last one we had, me and the gentleman was there. I had to go in and start fighting fire till everybody got there. I told him, I said, kind of like that song, I'm good with the first bottle. But after that, man, it takes me so long to recover now. The next morning I wake up, I'm like, oh, I'm so sore.
I'm good ones, as I ever was.
As I ever was. That's right.
Speaking of this, just kind of laughing here, I know you've had strange or funny calls. Is there one that you'd like to share with us that, you can't make some of this stuff up?
Yeah. I'll tell you one that sticks with me, and as a matter of fact, I was telling some folks about the other night. We had a bunch of new people, and they're just like wondering, and so they started asking me questions. One of them about stopping the bleeding. We know we need tourniquets. And I said, well, let me tell y'all a story of an arterial bleed. So me and BJ and Tim, some of the longest members in the fire department years ago. Obviously, I was a little thinner then, and we worked out and ran. So we were coming up here. My oldest son, he was probably 16 and he's 34 now, so several years ago. We were coming up here. It was a Sunday afternoon after church, and we were going to meet up here. We were going to run the block, then we were going to work out. So my son, my wife was with me. We're coming through the crossroads, just a half a mile down the road, quarter mile down the road, and all of a sudden I just see dust blow up. And there were 2 cars northbound and a motorcycle southbound. One car went to pass, so the motorcycle picked the middle of them. And he caught his leg on the side of the car, and it basically almost ripped it off. That was right here in front of the firehouse. The car that swerved to miss him almost hit the 2 fire guys, and it flipped and ended up in the ditch. So they're helping him. I pull up, call it in, and his leg is just squirting blood, just every heartbeat, just. So I grab it. My wife holds C-spine. I grab it, put some direct pressure, hit a pressure point, and it stops bleeding. Literally in front of our firehouse. And, so I get on the radio, tell them we need the helicopter, and, this, that, and the other. And we held pressure on that leg. And the one thing I remember, the guy's conscious now. And he's in the military. And my wife's sitting there holding his head, talking to him, trying to keep him calm. And when he hears that helicopter, he goes, hey, is that life flight for me? And she said, yes, it is. And he goes, ooh, that's not good. And he couldn't feel his leg because all the stuff were torn in it. But he was able to stay in the military. He got a artificial leg and came back up here.
Cool.
And he came back to see us. We probably seen him 3 times before he got stationed over. He was getting married, so he had coming back from his fiance. So, that always sticks to me. Like, just do your, like I was telling the guys that, just do your airway, breathing, circulation. You stop the bleeding. It's direct pressure, elevation, pressure points. Tourniquet now. Back then it wasn't a tourniquet, but they work if you just do them and don't get all. It's just a system. You do it every time.
Airway, ABCs. Airway, breathing, circulation.
That's right. So, and that literally was in front of our firehouse. I never forget that because I had a motorcycle at the time, and my son at that time, he said, Dad, I don't want you to ride your motorcycle again. So I sold it and hadn't rode a motorcycle since. So.
Yeah, I've heard of a few. My son's also in the fire department, and he just seems to be available at the worst ones. You know what I'm talking about? Those really bad accidents and the motorcycle ones. No, I have no desire for a motorcycle.
Yeah, I used to love to ride one though.
Oh yeah, I've ridden and they're great. I just don't trust anybody else.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I like to joke around. I own the road. Everybody else get out of the way. That's not the way it goes. So we talked about any more strange or one of those funny.
I can't think of really a funny one. I mean, other than just the stuff you see, you have to take. I tell people all the time, responders have to have a weird sense of humor just to help them get through it. I mean, a lot of the bad ones come to me. I remember when I was with Skyline, we had a young kid get hit on a bike, not middle of the night, but late night. A drunk driver. It was bad. I knew it was bad when I pulled up and there's a foot laying beside the bike, and it's just bad, and those kind of things stick with you. But I was a seasoned responder, so we just had to go back to the station and debrief. And a lot of that's with humor, and you got to keep the guys light because, you don't know how they're going to handle it. The good Lord blessed me with being able to handle, at least I say he did. My wife probably questions that. I probably hold a little too much in, but I do recognize when other people are suffering and try to help them through it.
Sure.
It's really about just caring. Not only care about, we are a family up here, and that's what I try to keep the guys to understand. We're just a big family, and you got to be able to lean on each other. But people need to understand that it doesn't matter if you're fire, EMS, or law enforcement. You were exposed to some really bad stuff, and I don't like to use a crutch of mental health. Maybe me being a man of faith, that helps. But,
I believe that.
The exposure. I could tell you stories we won't hear. I've probably summarized a little bit. They can get an idea of the bad stuff that I've seen, and I can still see it today. That decapitation, I could still see that head sitting under that car. To this day, I can still see I did a CPR on a baby, knew there was probably no chance, but crib death, and he was the size of my son, and I was holding my hand. I called my wife when I got to the hospital. I said, wake him up and don't let him go back to bed till I get home.
Yes.
I could still see that today. Like I told you, my son was 34 years old.
Yeah.
So, that was 33 and a half years ago. Mm-hmm. And I could still see that baby in my hands. So, just be attentive. If you know a responder, help them out. Care about them a little bit because they've probably seen some horrible stuff in their time.
Yeah.
Our daggum law enforcement, man, some of the stuff they have to go to is horrible. So. Absolutely.
And they get I'm joking here, they get the privilege of going to one right after the other. And sometimes I even think about EMS folks.
Oh, yeah.
They get there and let's be honest, we kind of go, whew, not our issue anymore. they got it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, I mean, they're still, they're dealing with it all the way to the hospital. So, thank you, for saying some of that.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want to say, well, I can't, yes, you can say that. There's people listening to this that they're thinking about it and they want to hear those stories. They want to, so they can kind of prepare themselves for it.
Yeah, that's right.
That being said, an intense story. I know you've already said some, but you got 39 years. So I'm sure you can write a whole novel on intense ones. An intense one, something that, whether it was fire or medical, you thought, maybe made you think, why am I doing this?
Man, I don't know if I've ever asked questioned why I'm doing this.
Or maybe you thought, boy, I sure gave up a good dinner. Like you could think, I wish I wasn't here for this, because it was like that.
Man, I mean, nothing's really coming to mind because I've just always wanted to serve.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna say in my county administrator role I haven't thought of
Well,
that.
I don't envy you on
But
that
as a fireman or paramedic, I just always wanted to help. I mean, there were some times, you're working we worked some really crazy shifts when I was on EMS. I know they're a little more stable now, but there was a time where when we worked the weekend, we worked 14 hours on Friday, 14 hours on Saturday, and a 24 on Sunday.
Oh my goodness.
It was treacherous. And my partner, I remember, it was Susie Whitfield at the time. And you would get one of them late calls, and you were just about to get finalized, and you'd have to go run that call. And you're just like, why am I doing this? And then you get there and you make a difference. You get them to the hospital, you talk with their family, calm them down. It was all worth it. But, them long shifts, fortunately, most departments don't have to do the crazy shifts like they used to. I mean, I'm not going to say you get a bad 24-hour shift, it's bad. It's bad no matter what when you get zero sleep in 24 hours. But man, I had some good time with my partners over the years. Me and Danny Wolf, we ran some crazy calls, and we went up and down the road doing post moves countless nights. So I don't really have any. My fire story is all volunteer, but I did I did probably 10 years on the ambulance before I went back to dispatch and then on to emergency management and public safety. But man, I've had some crazy times with some hurricanes too. We've deployed to places that, we just thought we were rural, and you go up there and they don't have anything. You're just trying to help them out. So, man, it's been so cool. My career, like I said, the good Lord has just blessed me. I've been exposed to some really neat stuff to go help. When we went to Hurricane Michael, I built relationships over there that last to this day.
Hurricane Michael, that was Panama City.
That was Panama City. We went to Washington County and stayed there about 3 weeks and kind of helped them. We took firemen from over here, volunteer and paid, and went over and ran calls for them for a couple of weeks.
Well, they needed that too.
They needed it. So, just to go and be able to help, it's neat. That's the fun stuff when you get to go to help. It's the bureaucratic stuff. You have to fill out reports and order gear and discipline volunteers. I mean, that's the bad side of it. But when you get to go help people, I mean, that's really where my heart is. I just want to help people, and I want to instill the next generation that you need to care about your community and want to help those people. Whether it's you see a lady in need, like one of our firemen did. We went back and built a ramp for them so that she could get her disabled husband in and out to the doctor.
Sure.
I mean, it's about taking that extra time because you care about your community.
It's a community department.
So I know I didn't answer your question, but I don't really have one of them, like I said, other than at EMS when we were just absolutely wore out from stupid shifts. And back then, we we didn't have a bunch of ambulances on. So we had an ambulance in the south end, an ambulance in central, and an ambulance in the north end. And if one of them, I was in central, so if either one of them ran a call, we shifted to cover all the calls. So, I mean, I can remember being in Milton and running a call off of Highway 98.
Oh.
Of course, back then they let us drive really fast, so that was pretty cool. But you don't get to do that anymore either. So.
Well, they got a few more
They
ambulances.
Now, granted, our population wasn't what it was. You know, it was probably, you know, at least a third less, probably in the 80,000 range, 75,000 range back when I first got in.
Right after I married my wife, I remember getting off of the Avalon exit, going to Pace, and not hitting anything. No lights, no traffic to the first light there on East Spencerfield Road. Now, try to do that. So it's definitely changed.
Oh, it has. I started working EMS on 98, and we were in the middle because Midway, which was midway between Gulf Breeze and Navarre, but it was nothing, you know, and then now you can't. There's no way to cover. We have 3 ambulances in the south end now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you just can't cover what you used
course,
to because there's so much more traffic.
I've been up here on a call and had to wait for an ambulance from the south end to come up here. So
that's right.
It so happens. Now I'm looking at some of these pictures of fires, and some of these are massive by the looks of it. Any of those memorable to you?
Yeah, so that one in the middle that you say is a massive fire. Mm-hmm. After that one was done, I'd love to see show you the post one, but it's not up there. You see how it was really engulfed in that left side?
Yes.
That was, obviously there was smoke and heat damage throughout the house, but that was the only room that was destroyed.
Really?
There's one picture of me going straight in that door.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because that looks massive from here.
It does, and this one over here,
Uh-huh.
that was a huge house. That was actually the son of one of our firemen.
Oh.
And no water supply. Of course, we have that up here. We don't have hydrants everywhere, but the closest hydrant was about 3.5 miles away. That was a huge house, and it was a windy night, and he was charging his golf cart outside under an overhang.
Yes.
And they were asleep, and it called it on, come up, went to the attic, and before the alarm went off, it was in the house, and it was blowing. You can see it blowing through the thing, but yeah, it took us probably 3 days. He used a lot of really interesting textures and all, like his roof was a rubber roof like that, and you could hardly get it to go out, but yeah, that was an interesting night.
Okay. Brad, how about any words of wisdom for anybody wanting to get into the fire or EMS or even dispatch? Any of these first responder kind of roles?
I would say go try it out. You know, see if it's something you really care about. Like, for example, dispatch, we encourage people to come in there and sit for a little bit. Just see if it's like, I will tell you, there's been many a fire and EMS person who thought they could make it at dispatch, but they didn't, because you're listing and you're trying to provide help, but you're only as good as the caller, right? So people struggle with that when they've put their hands on it, and you're limited to what you can help them over the phone while people get there. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately bad things happen. And then EMS, they offer ride-alongs. Go see it, make sure that it's something you want to do, it's something you can handle. And then same thing with the fire service. But really, if your heart is to serve and you care about the community, I will tell you, whether it's paramedic, firefighter, or dispatcher, if you go, man, I want to make a lot of money in a career, that's not your choice.
No, absolutely not.
I know many a paramedic who's went on to be nursing and get paid a lot more, and then they just kind of do the ambulance as a side job, or they get on the helicopter and things like that. But it's not obviously it was a lot different world when I got in EMS, but we were making minimum wage, which I remember, and it was $4.25 an hour. to drive an ambulance and save lives. Now that has changed, but still, a starting firefighter in our county is going to make, in the mid 40s.
Yeah.
Maybe the low 50s at best, depending on what department.
That's mind-boggling, really, when you think about it. But it is what it is.
Yeah. And obviously, the Florida retirement system's a good benefit, but the way our county is structured, if you're not a special independent district, you really just, you have what anybody else might have, a 401k or something. So you're not really getting that benefit of that pension. So as long as your heart's right and you can handle the spikes in adrenaline, and that's the problem, is a lot of people who are not exposed to it. I don't know that everybody says I just remain calm all the time. Like they were talking about that call out there, and some of the people kept it because they play it, because I was, obviously I'm a monotone guy, and I was just like, Chief 11, such and such will have the LZ, set them down here, and knowing that I'm holding an arterial bleed in my hand, So if you can't handle those spikes in adrenaline and you're going to come down and have a really low, you got to figure that out. What is it that can keep you stable? Because it's a roller coaster ride in emergency services. You're going to go from sitting around to you got to be doing something. That's why when I sit down to eat, I eat. Like, everybody's like, why'd you eat so fast? Because all those years on the ambulance and the dispatch, you never knew when that next call was coming in. So if I want a hot meal, I eat it while it's hot.
It's normally about the time when you're going to sit down and take that. You're really looking forward to whatever it is, and bing, and you're like, oh man.
And then you might go on and you might have 6-8 hours of nothing.
Yes.
So you got to be able to go up and come back down. And that's also why my wife's like, I don't know how you fall asleep so fast. I'm like, I used to fall asleep with my head on the side of the window on the ambulance. Just lay down and go to sleep till the next call. So, that's what I tell people. Just make sure there's a bunch of highs and a bunch of lows, and just try to find a way you can stay right in the middle and enjoy the highs and don't get bummed out on the lows. And remember, you didn't cause any of it, so anything that you get there and you can make a positive difference, that's what it's about. And if you don't want to make a positive difference and you just want an adrenaline ride, don't get in the service, because that's not what our service needs. We need people who care about their community and want to make a difference, whether you're paid or you volunteer.
True. By the way, my fire chief always says, let's say if I jokingly mess something up, he goes, I'm going to have to dock your pay. I'm like, go right ahead.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Thank you, Brad, so much for taking time. And if you ever I want to talk to you again, I want to tell you something, just let me know. And if you enjoyed Brad Baker, the chief from Allentown, Station 11, leave some comments. And anyway, if you're looking to join a volunteer fire department or EMS, even let's say law enforcement, many places do ride-alongs. And I highly, highly suggest that. All right, till next time, have a wonderful day.
10-4,